Hey, so Monday update before we get back together on the 24th. It's an exciting time, and at the same time, it's a little bit of an anxious time just because lots of decisions, lots of things. We don't know exactly how they're going to go until we try them. And so we're getting some information to you today, and I'm sure we'll have a little more information as we go along this week and try to answer some more questions as we go along. But the big three today, so to speak, of today's Monday update are our seating plan, how we're going to work the sanctuary and also the gym, and singing, and everyone's favorite topic of masks and how those relate. And then finally, some childcare information at the end. So let's get started with what's behind door number one, and that is seating. So the way our seating is going to work is you're going to see lots of things, or lots of kind of different patterns when you come in the sanctuary on Sunday. Basically, most everything will be marked out with some kind of tape, probably blue kind of painter style tape. And the idea will be that where the tape is where the people shouldn't be. Where the open seating is will not have tape on it. We'll just have this on the seats so it's not, just everywhere. But the idea will be this: we're trying to use to abide by the social distancing recommendations. And so the idea is to mark off 6-foot sections. The best way we can figure out how to do that and to get the most people possible in our sanctuary is to, if you imagine the middle sections of our sanctuary, the two middle sections, in those we'll able to do kind of a checkerboard pattern where, let's start in the back row. As you're coming in the doors, the first row you see there, we could have people at each end. Again, family units. So if you're single, your family unit is one. If it's mom, dad, and 2 kids, that's 4. So families can sit together. Families don't have to be 6 feet apart from each other. That would be not the recommendation. So, and also a tiny bit ridiculous, right? Now, some of you might say, well, the whole thing's ridiculous. Granted, whatever. Well, there are 1,000 different opinions about that, I'm sure. But family units don't have to be separated, but family units can sit. So one on each end of that first pew. Then the next pew would be one in the middle. And so there'll be tape on the outsides, one in the middle. Then the next pew up 2. So what that does is it gets 6 feet side to side, so to shoulder, there'll be at least 6 feet in between family units, but also front and back. Our pews are nice and wide and provide a lot of room, but they're not 6 feet apart. And so we think 2 pews will be enough. So before that, if that outside section or the out end of the pew on the back pew, then 2 pews up, there's another person sitting at the end of the pew. That seems to meet that requirement. And so that's the way that's kind of going to work. On the outside, it'll look pretty different. The back pews on the far outside sections, we may in fact be able to get folks in there. Smaller family units might be able to use up one end and then the other, and get 2 there. We'll just have to measure that out a little bit. But then as we go forward, at some point, we're just going to have to mark off every other pew, right? Because as we move forward, those shorter pews, one family unit's just going to overwhelm those. So everywhere in the outside sections is probably going to be, we're probably not going to be able to do that checkerboard. It's going to be every other pew. Maybe 1 or 2 of the back pews might be able to sit 2 families. Most of them will just sit 1. So you can see, or you will see when you come in, our capacity will be an awfully lot lower than it is on a normal Sunday morning. And we are going to rope off the balcony at this point. Nobody will be in the balcony except our tech crew. And part of the reason for that is because we are doing so many new things with tech in this deal. We need to provide space for them to move and space for them to interact with each other. And because of that, it could be pretty distracting in the balcony. And the communication issues could be distracting, but also we don't really know who's going to need to be where until we try it one time. And so we don't want to have to violate those social distancing things. So the balcony be closed. the plan for that is, what if we have more people than we can hold? Well, we're going to set up the gym for overflow, and basically we'll run our live stream over there. And I've already had one Sunday school class for early service and a couple of folks for late service volunteer to just set up over in the gym, to worship over in the gym. And that way nobody's alone. Nobody just, we don't end up with one or two families. Oh, you go to the gym because you got here too late, something like that. There'll always already be there folks there. And if you would like to help us with that in second service, I still have an opening for that. Have a couple of folks, but I love the idea of a Sunday school class doing that, because they already know each other and they already have that camaraderie and fellowship. And so they can be the welcomers over there. I'm pretty sure this Sunday, Brother Frank will be over there. He's been working at Tipton, so we'll have to work all of that out. Been preaching at Tipton the last couple of Sundays, and we'll work all that out. But that's kind of the general flow of the seating, and I hope to get you a video kind of shows you what that looks like before the end of the week, but we'll see how that goes. You'll definitely see it Sunday morning. So number 2, singing and masks. One of the great things that I look forward to, besides preaching to a full house, I'm excited to preach to more people in the pews, and the interaction that you provide during that time. This church is very gracious with that, with encouragement as we go along, the amens and the uh-huhs, and even the occasional let her rip tater chip. I'm excited by that. I am more excited, if that's possible, I am more excited by the chance to sing together, to hear you sing with us. I am looking forward to that. Here's the trouble. The reading I have done, and seems to be, and it makes sense, I don't dispute it, singing is more dangerous than speaking from a infectious disease spread. We don't usually think about this during cold and flu season, but it's true then too, right? When we're singing, we push more air, we breathe more deeply. So all of that interaction is greater than if we were just speaking. So the 6-foot requirement is designed for speaking. So several have asked, are you going to require us to wear masks to come to church? Well, I think it's problematic for us as a church to require something, especially as folks who are guests come in. And really, how are we going to enforce that? Are we going to throw you out? As a pastor, I'm not excited about the prospect of throwing people out of church. Now, some of you who have responded to my comment on Wednesday night about hats, and maybe I'll throw you out, but no, not even that. We do encourage you, as you come to worship, to wear a cloth mask. We have some available, and basically, I want you to understand this. I've said this, I think, in another video before, but again, and there's a lot of debate about whether masks work or not. Remember what they're for. They're not for filtering out the virus. That's a medical N95. Everybody's heard that term. That's a medical grade mask. Nothing we make at home or wear or can fashion is going to stand up to that kind of scrutiny. That's not what it's for. The mask is to abate, if you will, is to lessen the distance that your breath travels, and maybe limit just a little bit what comes in. Now, some of you hate them. I get that. Some of you really, you get glasses fogged up, you get a little sense of claustrophobia. I understand all that, and I am sorry for that. I think the best practice for our church is to highly encourage them, especially if you're going to sing and we want you to sing. So I would recommend that you do that. We do have some available that were donated to us. I think most people probably have one that they've made or had given to them at this point, but we would encourage you to use those. I'll just tell you, one caveat to that: our folks on stage are not going to use a banda, our praise team, our choir. We're not going to use them because of two things. One is there's a fair amount of separation there from the stage to the first pew, and so we're guarding that way, but also because of the sound, because we're continuing to live stream and we're leading in our congregation. The mask, as you can imagine, if I talk with a mask over my mouth, right, the sound is really not very good, and so we're trying to balance those needs. And so our stage personnel will not be wearing them while they're on stage. But as for me, what I'm going to do when I'm not speaking, when I'm preaching, I won't have my mask on. When I'm playing guitar or out in the congregation, I will have my mask on. And that's the way we're going to handle that. And I encourage you, um, again, lots of you will have different opinions on this, but I encourage you to love one another and be conscious of those who have compromised health or who have some reservations about getting together, that we can help them by wearing the masks. And of course, it's hard to touch your face. So especially if you're going to be singing, and I would certainly encourage you to do that, I encourage you to wear the masks. Okay, now we're through the really controversial one. On to number 3, which is childcare. That is, there won't be any. Right? The childcare will be by family, the way it is in your home. You're responsible for childcare. Now, let me say that as I want families with small children to know that we're not going to have a nursery. We're going to try to figure this out. And as phase 2 of our state reopening goes into effect, that may change. We have to figure these things out as we go along. Basically, we're trying to introduce one step at a time for our church reopening. So for the time being, we won't have a nursery. And so we're going to have small children. So that for families, I want you to know that that's what's going to happen. And for the rest of us, I want you to know that's what's going to happen. We have the glorious privilege of having small children in our worship service. And we don't treat it like that very often. We get so easily distracted. But I promise you, if there's a baby crying, I have talked over and to crying babies before. I have made babies cry. So it's not a problem for me, right? It's not a deal. I've also soothed a few babies, so that's okay. I've done both sides of that, not mean to babies. But we're going to have some small children in our service, and aren't we glad that that's true of our church family? So moms and dads, bring them right with you. We're excited to have you and your children in our service, and the rest of us are going to be patient and supportive. And that's just the way we're going to be, because we can't do otherwise for right now. And it's a great blessing. It's something that we should look to the Lord and thank Him for the young families and the small children we have in our midst. And we're going to get to have them in worship with us. And so everybody be on the lookout for that and understand what we're looking at. I'm so excited to get to worship together with you this Sunday. And again, if you are not comfortable getting out yet, or you have underlying health issues that make it unadvisable for you to get out yet, we want you to know we're going to continue to live stream our services. So at 8:30 and 11, you will be able to get back on the platforms that you've seen us on before, YouTube and Facebook. You'll see it on our website. You'll see that broadcast there. It'll be exactly what we're doing. So where we get a chance to record and edit, if we make mistakes or something like that, not this time. Whatever you see Sunday morning on the stage is what's going to go out to the internet for all eternity. Yeah, that's a little bit daunting, but we're excited to do it. We're excited to see you. And just some information here. Like I say, we'll try to get more to you through the week. There are lots of questions to answer, and some of them just won't be answered until about 12:30 on next Sunday. We'll know for sure what happened, how it worked, what we're going to do from there. We appreciate your enthusiasm for gathering together again, and we appreciate your patience as we figure all these things out together. We'll see you soon.